It's primetime purple this upcoming Sunday, Vikings versus Cowboys, 3:25 p.m. on Fox. On that call at US Bank Stadium is the man joining me today for a one-on-one, Mr. Kenny Albert. Kenny, thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me, Gabe. Can't wait to get up to Minneapolis. It's one of my favorite cities to visit and certainly one of my favorite stadiums in the entire NFL.
And the Vikings are on a 3-game home stretch, and you get to call 2 of those games this week and next week. But before we talk ball, this upcoming Sunday is officially Thanksgiving week. So I got to ask you, what's Thanksgiving like in the Albert household?
Well, it's always a fun week, right? A lot of football and a lot of food. Normally, we have people over to our house. I have 2 girls, my wife, my daughters are 21 and 17. So, this year's a little different, obviously, with COVID. We won't have as many people around. But when I think back to Thanksgiving in past years, it's football on the TV and a lot of food on the table.
I figured you would say you, your dad, Steve, and Al, you guys are, screaming at the TV, getting your calls off, watching games.
Well, back in the day when I was growing up, and
Wow.
my uncle Steve and Al, as you mentioned, would come over, and I always tell people that was sort of like the first all sports radio station. Whenever they would come over on holidays and other special events, I was obviously pretty young at the time, but I would listen to all the stories they were telling about the various leagues and teams and networks that they worked for. So I sort of learned via osmosis, but definitely the first all sports radio station in our kitchen and dining room for sure.
That's awesome. I know a lot of Vikings fans, when you talk about Thanksgiving and the Cowboys, the first thing they think of is the 1998 game, Vikings versus Cowboys in Dallas that year. And I got a good feeling about this game that history has a chance to repeat itself this upcoming Sunday.
A lot of history between these teams. The game you mentioned, you had the Hail Mary in 1975, the Tony Dorsett 99-yard run.
Yep.
The teams played last year, game won by the Vikings last November. So even though they're not in the same division, there is history. Mike Zimmer was a coach with the Cowboys, an assistant coach for many, many years. When Mike McCarthy was in Green Bay, of course, 2 games a year between McCarthy and the Vikings. So should be a lot of fun. When you look at it from a Vikings standpoint, the schedule seems favorable as far as the upcoming opponents. They're coming off 3 straight wins over division rivals. And if you're the Cowboys, if you win this Sunday, and then you have another game on Thanksgiving 4 days later, if you win that one, you're sort of in the driver's seat at 4-7, which is hard to believe. But really looking forward to it, along with my partner, Jonathan Vilma, and Shannon Spake, our sideline reporter. We'll see the Vikings the next 2 weeks, this Sunday against the Cowboys, and then next Sunday against the Carolina Panthers. Excited to watch Dalvin Cook. Excited to see Justin Jefferson in person for the first time. I've always been a fan of Kirk Cousins and players like Adam Thielen and Kyle Rudolph. And then on the defensive side, Harrison Smith, another big interception in the game on Monday. And on the Cowboys side, you have the return of Andy Dalton, who Mike Zimmer knows well. They spent 3 years together in Cincinnati. CD Lamb, so we'll have the 2 rookie first-round wide receivers in Justin Jefferson and CD Lamb. So a lot of exciting storylines heading into this one.
Dallas Cowboys minus 13 in the turnover margin. Minnesota Vikings, they forced 6 turnovers in the past 2 weeks. You got to think for the Vikings, getting turnovers is going to be at the forefront of everything they do, right?
Absolutely. When you talk to coaches around the league, the turnover ratio plays such a factor in the win-loss record. And from a Vikings standpoint, the first 6 games, they committed 12, and the last 3 games, they've only committed 2. Kirk Cousins has cut down on the interceptions over the last 3 weeks, and it's led to 3 victories. So on the Dallas side, like you said, they've had their issues holding on to the football, and that's been a big reason for their 2-7 start. So I think that will certainly play a big factor this Sunday, as it usually does.
One of the unsung heroes of this Vikings defense is a guy not far from your hometown, Shamar Stefan. What does he have to do, and this Vikings D-line have to do to continue to not allowing a 100-yard rusher with Ezekiel Elliott?
The pride of the University of Connecticut, right? He's a UConn Husky. And when you look at the season, Elliott's had no 100-yard games for Zeke this year, which is unusual. He's played behind an offensive line that's shuffled guys around, some young players, some injuries, some key injuries on the Dallas offensive line. And going from one quarterback to the next, it's sort of been unsettling.
What have you seen from this Vikings offense that gives you confidence that they can continue to have success this week?
Well, they've gotten off to some fast starts. They've scored 4 touchdowns on their opening drive in 9 games, and when we spoke to Kirk Cousins about that, he talked about the scripted plays at the start of games from Gary Kubiak, and that's certainly been a factor. But Cook's having a sensational year, leading the league in rushing yards and touchdowns and yards from scrimmage. And then you have Alexander Madison, who can come in, and he's a physical runner. And Justin Jefferson, having an outstanding rookie season so far, leading the team in receptions. We saw the circus catch from Adam Thielen on Monday night. Really impressed with this Vikings offense. They're ranked in the top 10 offensively. They're ranked in the top 5 in rushing. They're averaging over 5 yards per carry. So they've led the way for this team, and looking to build on it and win a 4th straight game this week.
Lastly, to win a 4th straight game, what do the Vikings have to do?
I think a lot of what we talked about, Gabe, they want to establish the run and run the football. They're one of only 4 teams that runs more than they pass during the course of games this season. I think turnovers will be a key. Dalton, again, will give the Cowboys that stability, but he hasn't been on the field a lot over the last 3 weeks due to the concussion and then having tested positive for COVID. So, maybe we'll see some pressure early from that Viking defense and try to disrupt Andy Dalton right from the start, given that he hasn't had a lot of time on the field with his teammates over the last 3 weeks.
3:25 p.m. Vikings-Cowboys, prime time purple. Kenny Albert's on the call. Thank you, Kenny.
Thanks, Gabe. Look forward to it, and look forward to back-to-back weekends in Minneapolis for the Cowboys game and then the Panthers next week.
Happy Thanksgiving.
You too.